Well, hey there, friends. Welcome back to the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I hope you're having a great week. I'm your host, Wendy Batten. Happy Monday if you're listening to us on our launch day. I am excited. This week is a big week for me. I am hosting a live full coaching week inside my Retailer's Inner Circle. I am super duper excited about it. Somebody made fun of me for saying super duper last week, but anyhow, that's how we roll around here. We're super duper imperfect. Anyhow, inside my Retailer's Inner Circle, which is my monthly coaching group, we are doing a live coaching week. We are going through the entire Retail Made Simple foundational part of my inner circle. It's the introduction, I guess, if you will. It's the first thing we suggest doing inside the Retailer's Inner Circle. And then we have follow-up masterclasses and resources inside the Retailer's Inner Circle with all the members in our community. And I'm excited because this week is a live coaching week. I've never done that inside the Inner Circle. So we are going to be going live every day. I say we, I mean me. I'm going live every day inside the Retailer's Inner Circle, and we'll be going over all of the parts. There's 4 modules, and of course we'll stretch it into the 5th one because we'll do a wrap-up day. And I'm so excited because what happens is we all learning different things at different times, right? We're learning our business operations, we're learning our marketing, we're learning how to be the boss, we're learning how to be efficient, and all of that together needs reminders. We're different stages all the time. So in the Retail Made Simple course that's on the front end of our program, we cover all of the ecosystem that I'm talking about here on the podcast, all of the things the pillars, if you will, the things that are important for us to remember and how we need them to work together. And as we grow and as we evolve our business, we have different eyes. We look at different things. We come with different I don't want to say attitudes towards things. Part of it is attitude, I will say, but part of it's also understanding that new level requires new skill set. So if you've learned about marketing in the past, when you take the course again, you kind of like look at it in a different way. You might be more strategy focused, or you might be more, we know we're doing this. We got this part nailed. We're moving on to this next part. We're getting media exposure. We're doing different things. As we grow, so does the responsibility of our role as the CEO. So I'm really excited to teach that this week. So even if you're a member, and even if you've taken it already, I hope you'll join us. We're going to be doing lots of live Q&A. The energy is always great. I am pumped for this. So it's not too late. You're welcome to join us inside the Retailer's Inner Circle. We would love to see you there. So it's wendybatten.com/join. is an easy way to do it. Also, retailersinnercircle.com will take you to the same place. So there you go. Easy peasy. That's how we roll around here. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about business operations. And I have one simple activity that I share. It's something that we share every month inside the Retailer's Inner Circle. It's part of our I don't know, business documents, if you will, that we share. And we're actually starting in March, we are making it part of our dashboard and playbook that we give our retailers every month. We're going to make sure it's in front of you every month because it's so important and because we have been really working hard at making sure that we're not wasting time. You know what I mean? Our time is so valuable and our time is so important. We only have 2 resources, right? Time and money when it comes to running our business. And this one activity that I'm going to share with you today is going to save both. It's going to save you time from thinking, and it's also going to save you money from wasting money and wasting money on things that don't need to be done or that you forgot to do. So we're going to be talking today all about business operations and what I recommend we do. This all comes from what I do. It's a pretty simplified version of this. It's what we recommend that retailers do as they're ending the month. I call it a month-end debrief, and how to open the month, how to start the month. And we do all this during what we call lovingly a CEO date. So if you're wondering, what should I be spending my actual business time, my business development time on? Listen up to today's episode. I am going to give you what you should be listening, what you should be doing as you're ending the month and beginning the month. It's going to really set you up for a really successful month ahead and reviewing your month past so that you can have a better month ahead. I hope that all makes sense and rattled out properly. But anyhow, hang tight. We're going to share that with you now. Running a retail business doesn't have to be so hard. Welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast, the go-to podcast for creative shop owners, studio owners, and independent retailers. I'm your host, Wendy Batten, retail business coach and mentor. Each week, I'll share simple, proven business strategies, inspiring stories from fellow retailers, and advice from industry experts. Together, we're going to work to find the success you want from your retail business with more profits in your till and a little more joy in your life. Okay, one of the things that I have retailers sharing with me a lot, and this actually, the reason for this podcast today is because I had a retailer say to me, I forgot that was in the inner circle. I forgot this list was in the inner circle. And it was so impactful when I used to do it, and I haven't done it before. And that is this opening and closing list. And what she meant by impactful is that it just took her brain off of things. She didn't have to think about things or to think about what she had to do next. And that to me is really valuable. And the other reason that I'm sharing this particular podcast episode or this advice, and hopefully you'll find this helpful today for you and your business, is that I shared it on Instagram at the end of the month, last month. And oh my gosh, you guys, my DMs were full. And it was really just me sort of talking about what I recommend my clients do every month. And that is this list. So my DMs were so full. I was like, okay, whenever that happens, I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. And really what happens is we're always reinventing the wheel, right? Or we drop the ball. We all know checklists are great, right? So this is a checklist. This is what it is. And again, it's available inside my Retailer's Inner Circle. I'm going to give you the high version of it. And if you're a member, you can go grab it there. If you're not a member, I'm going to encourage you to go, but I'm going to give you some big steps to get started on your own list today. And you have to be willing to do this. And I guess you're listening to the podcast. You're obviously interested in bettering your business. So I want you to be open and willing to do checklists. Like, think about the purpose of this. So we start and end the month with these checklists. And the reason that we do it, honestly, okay, can we just be honest for a minute? The reason that I started doing this was because my brain fog and busyness and I don't know, old age, I don't know what sets in. And I just don't have the time to redo it. So we all know checklists work. We all know that there's certain things we need to do. And I guess a checklist is really helpful. I guess that's why I do it. So one of the first things that we do is look back. We do a business debrief. So I don't know how long I've been doing debriefs. I call them debriefs because it's exactly what it is. We're going to look at the data. We're going to look at the numbers. We're going to look at the math. And that is going to tell one story. But we're also going to write down our thoughts because that's also super important and tells a story. And here's a takeaway, something that's really been helpful for one of my clients in particular. I'm totally thinking of the client that told me she was doing it and then she stopped and now she's doing it again. She was not doing debriefs. She was just moving ahead 1 month into the next. Yes, she was looking at her KPIs. And we just recently did a podcast on key performance indicators. So she was looking at the numbers, and we'll link that podcast here. And that is really just the data and what she was measuring. And it's not just revenue. So she was doing that. She was continuing to do that. But she wasn't, and she's a planner and she's running a very successful retail business. She wasn't marking down things like what the weather was like and some of the events that she had been hosting or doing. Some worked really well, some didn't. And she wasn't acknowledging what it was, what those things were. That's what a debrief's going to do. She also wasn't acknowledging, like when she came to me and she said, well, I don't understand why this worked last year. It's not working this year. And I happen to remember something that happened last February for her, or whatever month it was in the event. And I said, hey, that was the month that, your blah, blah, blah happened and this happened. And, it was one of her key employees that had left. And she's like, oh my gosh, I was dealing with all that then and I forgot. That's what a debrief does. That's what this debrief is going to do. It's going to help you identify the things that are going on in your business, good and bad, and what's actually happening. So I'll share some of the questions and how we do it. And it really is asking yourself what influenced or actually the question on the debrief is what influenced your month. So again, we've been doing this for, I think, since 2018. I've been working through this. This is what we did this is what we do with our businesses as well too. So what influenced your business this month? And the questions are, or the things to think about, and you can add your own, everybody has their own. What were your best sellers? What were the events that you held? What was the weather like? I mean, the weather this year has been insane. Like maybe your shop was closed for an entire week for a snowstorm that Tennessee doesn't normally get, which has happened to a few of our clients lately. So it helps influence the numbers. It helps influence your memory, unless you're like super like Sheldon-like or whatever, and you can remember everything. We're going to forget. The other thing we look at are things like, who are your top customers? It kind of makes me go do a little digging, right? So I go back and I do a little digging. What were the best promotions that we did? What staff, what was our staffing situation like? What was our payroll? All of these things, we kind of want to look at them and dig a little bit deeper. A couple of deeper questions that I ask, and you've probably heard me ask them here on the podcast when we've talked about things before, but how did I show up in my business this month? Because to be honest, we all have months where it's like, yeah, you know what? I was dealing with a lot at home, or I don't know, I just didn't have the energy, and we're human. It happens, just so you know. But, how did I show up in my business this month? If you were all in and your energy was there and everything was great, and, that's a different energy than when you're tired and you're not showing up. So I want you to, think about that. And, what is something that we can improve on? That's a question I love to ask. What's something that we know we can improve on? And if we don't identify that, we don't ask those questions of ourselves, we'll never know. There's a bunch of other questions, like what felt heavy and hard. And that question, my friend, is a hard question to ask yourself. Sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's really hard, but what felt heavy and hard, and really identifying, I guess it's kind of like journal prompting, making words up again. It's like journal prompts. It's like asking yourself to just think back over the month, right? And there's lots of other things that we do. So the checklist, so that's sort of the prompts the debrief part. And then there's a checklist that goes with it. And the checklist includes things like checking off, did I track my KPIs? And that's, of course, the numbers and the data, and looking at that and digging through that part. That's a whole other, CEO, not a whole other CEO date, but that's part of your CEO date, is to dig through your numbers, like pay attention. Did your email list grow? What was your foot traffic like? What was your conversion rate? What did that look like? Anyhow, I share a lot of that over on the other episode that we talked about about KPIs. So one of the other things on our business end of month wrap up, I guess the wrap up list, I think we call it, did we file any taxes that need to get done? Did we do that? Did we acknowledge our wins? This is one of my favorites. Y'all know, if you've been around for a while, I am a big proponent of us acknowledging our wins, because we don't do that enough. Like, look back over the month and say, heck yeah, I did good. Look what we did. We doubled our sales. We increased our conversion rate. We got our POS system all set up. We cleaned up our inventory. Like, acknowledge your wins, acknowledge your team's wins. Did you review your team goals? Like, did you make those, like the numbers that you set for your team, is what Wendy's trying to say. I also have things on this checklist, like reviewing your bank statements, your credit card statements, and any other thing that, like your PayPal, all of that, line by line. It does not take that long. Stop rolling your eyes. I can feel you now, but this is how we mitigate change. This is how we identify anything that's going wrong, or, I shouldn't say mitigate change, but this is how we identify anything that's like, out of whack or anything like that. And going line by line does not take forever. I take a highlighter, we go line by line. All my clients know we do this. So this is what we do. One of the things, well, there's a whole list of things, and I can't read through them all, but just reminding yourself to do some of these things, like what were our top selling products? What was our top selling service? What was our best selling department? What category? Did we do an inventory check? I also recommend doing inventory counts every month, but not like some people don't want to do their whole shop. So that's fine. You can do like a rotating inventory count. And we can talk about inventory in another day, but meaning did we do our inventory counts? And, did we forward all our information off to our bookkeeper? It's a simple checklist of things that have to happen every month. Did we look at our balance sheet? There's a whole bunch of things. I can't read them all off. I want to read them all off, but I'm just not going to. This is just too much to read all off. But I do want to remind you that, just having this list means I don't have to think about it. I'm just going through the list. I already created the list. Again, you can add your own things. There might be certain things maybe you have to check your security cameras or rewind things, or, there might be things that you have to do specific to your business. You'll add them to your own list and create your own debrief. But I'm telling you, this is a simple, game-changing business, I want to say badass CEO move when you do a debrief. The next part to this CEO date, I guess, as we like to call it, part of our business operations at the end of the month, is also getting ready for the beginning of the month. So we've kind of done the whole debrief. And again, we've gone through our whole checklist. And now we are looking through our planning for the month, the beginning of the month, the opening of the month is what I call it. So we're opening the month in our business operations. And this is where we don't want to drop the ball. We don't want to miss anything, because what happens if we miss something? It might cost us money. Like we have to order something last minute and rush, or a shift might not get covered, or, we do we wear all the hats, right? So if one of our things that we need to prepare for the month gets dropped, that's where the chaos comes in. That's where the things go off the rails. That's where it costs us more money, more time. We're coming in at the last minute, whatever it is. So if you can get yourself prepared at the beginning of the month with this list. So some of the things we have on our beginning of the month business maintenance checklist is what we call it. Completing your KPI tracking board. So what are our goals for the month? Let's fill it out. Let's put those things in place. I know you have your inventory, and I'm going to back up a little tiny bit. We think that getting ready for the month means, okay, we have the inventory purchase, we have our buying done, we have our promotions in place, usually well before the beginning of a month. I know that you have your inventory, you know what you're going to be selling. I mean, hopefully if you've done your yearly planning with me or with your business coach, or however you do your business planning, you have all of these things in place. And you know that, but it's the little things, it's the little big things, we like to say, the little big things that we kind of forget to do. So this is what we do on this checklist. So we have our goals. We want to make sure we put them on our tracking sheet, so we know, here's what we're all aiming for. This is what we share with our team. So we set up our KPI dashboard. We make sure that our paychecks are written. So this sounds really silly, but I always recommend, paying yourself at the beginning or the end of the month if you can, or every 2 weeks, but making sure that you prioritize your paycheck. If you work with me or you're in the inner circle, you know that I am going to tell you have to pay yourself. If you're squirming in your seat right now and you're not paying yourself, you got to listen to me. We need to pay yourself. So we want to make sure that, your paychecks are getting organized. One of the big things that I love to remind everybody at the beginning of the month is to check all your forward-facing assets, all your forward-facing marketing assets. If you're in this inner circle, there's a list in there to check and what to check and how to check it. And what that is all the things that we're doing to try to get new eyeballs on our business, right? We're always trying to do new things. I hope your audience building, and we have a whole series coming up, by the way, my friends, on how to stop hiding and how to get found better. We also have my 6-week sales accelerator course, all on marketing and sales. That's all coming up as well. But the whole thing is if you are being found and all of your marketing assets, the things you have control of, are not updated or not correct or not projecting the good first impressions, if those are not updated or good, or they're not working for you, you're leaving money on the table. We talk about this a lot here. So that list is something that we always check. And what I mean by that is when people land on your Google and your Facebook page and your Instagram and your LinkedIn or wherever you are attracting people to, all of those assets need to be correct and updated. So at the beginning of every month is a great time to check that. Make sure you're showing up at the right time, place, dates, the change your header, whatever it is you're doing with part of your marketing strategy. This is when we do that at the first of the month. That is a quick check, does not take long. Go grab the sheet inside the Retailer's Inner Circle. It's going to be really invaluable to you. That's even your front window and checking the front of your shop and all of the first impression things. Anything that would be a first impression, we want to make sure is updated. Some of the other things that your team meeting is planned, or team huddle, whatever it is, however you connect with your team. Talking to your team, I love to make sure that we're scheduling in time to speak to our team, whatever it is you have to check in with them. We have, planning out your inventory. So what are you going to count for inventory this month? And when are you going to do it? When are we flipping our windows? What does our promotional calendar look like? We are also going to be doing things like reviewing our payables and receivables. So on the money side of things, this is a great time to start planning to, like, when are we going to pay this bill and when are we going to go collect that bill? So this is, a good time to do that and face those things. The other thing on the money side of things, maybe there's something I want to do. I want to check on my insurance. Those things that you have maybe on your whiteboard or maybe in your planner that you've been sort of putting off. Schedule it. This is a great time to say, you know what, I'm going to take Friday morning and I'm going to call my insurance agent and get that updated and make sure that we're properly covered for insurance, because that is something a lot of retailers don't do and their inventory grows and they're not covered. Anyhow, another episode for another day. But maybe that's something you've been putting off. So making sure you're scheduling in time for business decision things, like talking to your lawyer, talking to your accountant. There's just a whole lot of things. Reviewing your 90-day planning. This is a great time to do that. We do that at the beginning of the month. So when I look at my quarterly planning, but actually 90 days out all the time. So it's not just like at the end of Q1, I'm not starting to look at my Q2. We're always should be looking 90 days out. 90 days at a time, window, right, of a 90-day window. So what we do is we look at that. So we remind ourselves on this checklist to review our 90-day plan, make sure we're on track, and make sure that we're doing the right things at the right time over the next couple of weeks, because time flies, right? Anything that you need to order, we have a lot of things in here. I also have on here, schedule in your skills and input training. This is a big one because personal development and business development is super important. If you are part of our group, or you're a part of my mastermind, or you have a business coach in another program, or you want to learn something and I want to sit down and whatever it is, I want to read a book, I want to do a thing. This is the month I'm going to elevate my skill in whatever. You have to make time for that. It blows my mind that people don't make time for education. I mean, you have to make time for that. I know you're busy, but this is part of your CEO role. This is a valuable time spent doing your education, doing your business development growth. Any personal development is going to come back to you in spades. I mean, it always does. It does over and over again. I double dog dare you to tell me a time that you've learned something new about your business and it hasn't made any difference in your business. So I just want to encourage you to make sure that you schedule time. I personally I have 2 hours a week that I literally just dedicate to taking courses and checking in with, and actually some weeks it's more if I signed up for a course, or if my mastermind, I belong to 2 mastermind groups. If my mastermind group or some of the programs that I'm on, if they're meeting this week, this is, we make sure that we put that in the calendar. So looking at the beginning of the month and planning out your calendar as needed. One of the best things you can also do at the beginning of a month, looking at your calendar, is making sure that you have the big rocks blocked off. if you've been following us here on the Creative Shop Talk for a while, if you've ever been a client of mine, if we've ever worked together, or you've been in any of my programs and groups, we talk a lot about the big rocks. And the big rocks are what things are important to you, whether that's your family, hopefully it's your family, or your health, and whatever those things are, making time for that is really important. And I always say, and I repeat this a lot here on the podcast, I always say we have to put those on the calendar first. Work will always fill around all the other time. If not, work will fill up all the time and we won't have time for the big rocks. And then we won't have our health, we won't have our family, we won't have the things. So making sure at the beginning of the month that you have those dates blocked, you have things on your calendar. And I always recommend doing that 90 days out so that things don't fill up. Anyhow, this is what we do inside the Inner Circle. We love to be able to give you support documents. We love to give you help. Literally everything in this group has been created out of need and desire. It doesn't, it's not just a framework and here's how you do it. It's like, hey, we would really love a checklist. Well, hey, here's the checklist I use, and we've adapted it over the years, and retailers just can go in and take what they want. If you have your own checklist, create your own checklist. If you're not a member of the Inner Circle, or if you are a member and you don't want to use mine, that's fine too. But create a list and make sure you stick to it. The value of having an opening and close part of your month, the debrief at the end of the month, is invaluable. That is equally as important as planning out the next month, understanding what happened and why, and what for, like why, and when things were really good, if you had a really great month and everything was rocking and oh my gosh, you exceeded your sales and everything was great, why did that happen? Let's debrief that. Let's do that again. Let's do more of that. Looking back and seeing what resonated with your clients, what promotions worked, what social media or marketing or media thing did you do this month that drew in all these people? Maybe it's a simple thing, but not debriefing it and we just move on to the next month. Well, I hope next month's just as great. That's what I hear a lot. So let's not hope for that to repeat. Let's hope for that super awesome month to happen again, but knowing why, knowing what levers we need to pull, the things we need to do, what drove those sales, what kept you happy. Like, we all know that we've done events that have sucked the life out of us, right? We've all done that. We've all had things that might have been a success, but they're not, we're not doing that again. And that's another thing to debrief. Like, why was it so hard? And could we make it simpler? Nope, we're just not going to do it again. We're going to replace it. I get excited talking about all this stuff because I see retailers spending time and money and energy they don't have. So this is why we want to do a debrief every month. We want to do a debrief. So I'm going to encourage you to do yours. Go grab your lists. If you're in the Inner Circle, you can go grab it. It's in the headquarters. If you're not a member, as I've said over and over again, you're always welcome to join us inside the Retailers Inner Circle. You can find us at retailersinnercircle.com. Friends, I'm just so honored and happy and excited that you keep tuning into this podcast. Thank you for listening. And, did you know that we have been growing and growing? Like, we have so many downloads now, and it's all because of you. We have a global audience as well, too. So, hey, wherever you're listening to from around the world, it blows my mind. So we are climbing the charts. And again, it's because of listeners like you. And I am on a mission, as you guys know, to reach more independent shop owners. And I would do anything. And I would be so grateful if you would help other retailers find us. So you can click to follow us. You can subscribe. You can leave a review. You can share this intimately with, this is the most special thing for me is when somebody says, oh, my friend Susie, told me about your podcast. If you could share it with a couple of fellow shop owners, honestly, it's just like it's just a wonderful, warm way to share. Anyway, and people, I appreciate it when you do that. So thank you so much for all of your support, everybody. And we will see you next week. Stay motivated, stay happy, stay focused on what you're doing, get that CEO hat on, and go do your debriefs if you haven't done them. We'll see you next week, my friends. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm so glad that you were here to join us this week, and I hope you found value in what we're sharing here. I want to remind you that our website has all of the show notes. You can find it at wendybatten.com/podcast. Everything that you need to hear about today's podcast is there. Also an opportunity if you need to reach out to me. If I can support you in any way whatsoever, please feel free to reach out. So thanks for joining us. Please leave a review, subscribe if you can, and never miss an episode. We hope to see you back here again next week. Thanks, my friend. Have a great week.